What's going on, everybody? This is Jason McCullough again, coming at you. To my friends, family, like-minded musicians, and just genuinely like-minded people that enjoy music and love metal, like myself. Anywho, this is video number 2 for week number 2 on my video blog for music for my Sanity. Again, my name is Jason McCullough, and this week I figured I'd touch into some of the topics I kind of hit on a little bit in some other videos. I'd like to start with the idea of it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Not what you say, it's how you say it. So this is a concept that seems to be lost on a lot of very talented, otherwise talented musicians, guitar players. I mean, I haven't seen this with drummers so much because everything they do is textile. Everything is by feel. You know, how hard you're hitting the snare, how hard you're hitting the tom. You know, how hard you're hitting the cymbal, the ride, how much you got the hi-hat clutched, you know, everything like that, you know, where you're hitting the cymbal. Are you hitting it in the middle on the bell? Are you hitting it way outside? Are you hitting with the side of the stick or the tip of the stick? All those things, right? Well, why don't we apply that same thinking with a guitar? You know, why do a lot of guys, they skip that? And they treat guitar almost like a keyboard with presets. Not a velocity sensitive keyboard, but a keyboard that is on and off. Because there's a lot of technically phenomenal guitar players out there that have zero feel, and it's an enigma to me. It makes no sense how you can master that much technique yet have glossed over or just completely skipped over the chapter of the book or life that taught you that you need to add a little flavor, a little style, a little bit of character to those notes that you're playing. Because anybody can play an open E, right? Anybody. Metallica made a career out of it. Thrash metal bands, Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, all of them made careers out of playing very few notes as far as rhythm goes. But other bands, they have just shredded, especially Slayer. Let's talk about Slayer. They shred on that low E, man. They shred it to death. But they can have, quite literally, hundreds of songs, all using the low E for the most part, pedal tones on the open low E. But they can give texture and feel and importance to the different notes. So it's how the pick attack is how much palm muting they're using, how far up, how hard are they really hitting the string when they do it. Are they muting anything on the left? You know, because sometimes I'll mute right in front of the nut with my left hand. You know, especially if I'm going to start doing complex patterns, open patterns. You know, I will mute with my left hand. Or if I really want to get a good solid chunk to it, sometimes I'll hit a really chunky note, I'll let it ring out, and people don't watch, but I'm actually muting and I'm articulating with my left hand without ever hitting a note. So again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You know, a lot of guitar players, we all have our heroes, right? I wanted to be James Hetfield. That was my hero. He was my number one. That was my first. Like, I just thought the way he played and everything he did was so awesome. If you guys remember Live Ship Engine Purge back in the day, watching him play Fade to Black, and when he gets into that really powerful end, you know, right there. Now a lot of guys are going to downpick that dun da da, but he upstrokes that, and believe it or not, that is a completely different texture and has a completely different level to what you're saying. You know, it's just like downpicking versus alternate picking. Now I have altered my alternate picking to sound very much like down picking. However, when it comes down to it, it's not the same thing, and it does not sound the same regardless of how good you think you are. If you're not down picking, like if you're playing Master of Puppets and you're not actually down picking the whole thing, I don't. I'm too lazy. I do a really weird pick pattern that I made up, but you know, it might sound really close, but it's never going to sound exactly like that. And there's a couple other reasons why. For one, if you are a musician, you create your own music, you practice, you play, and for some guys, Look at Chris Broderick. He can sound like any guitar player on the face of the earth. I mean, like, he has mastered that guitar player's attitude towards the guitar, their approach to it. And I don't know, man, he must have gotten their brains. Like, when you hear him play a Chris Poland solo, you swear to God it's Chris Poland, which is phenomenal because almost I've never heard anybody sound anywhere close to him. That's one guy out of all of us that can do this at that level. So the thing is, when you're playing music, you put a little bit of yourself into your guitar. This is your voice. This is you coming through that instrument. And all your experiences in life lead to the sounds that come out of that. And they should. You don't want to be a carbon copy of anybody else, especially if you're a creative musician. Now, there's a lot of guys out there that are absolute tools, for better or worse. There's some dudes out there that never found their own voice. It's kind of like a karaoke singer. There's a lot of guys out there can sing magnificently on karaoke. That's me. I can sing karaoke very well, but I never found my own voice. But there's, when you grow, you really find yourself going to your own way, and you might be playing the same notes, but it just doesn't have the same quality, the same texture, it's just not the same voice. And you know what? And there's certain guys where I could play all the notes. I studied the tablature. I've nailed it, right? Even on rhythm, I've nailed it. I know exactly how to play this. I can play it on an acoustic guitar. However, you even buy all of the equipment. You buy the same guitar, the same freaking cables, the same freaking picks, same strings, the same pickups, the same rig, amp, speakers, speaker cabinet, all of it, exactly the same. You turn all your EQs exactly how they did it on that album or live, however they were playing, whichever band it might be that you pick, right? But that's who I want to sound like. So you start working on that, right? Well, for me, I did that once. I did that once. And I was chasing Metallica. This is back a long, long time, like 94, 95, 96. And no matter what I did, I could still hear, personally, that it wasn't the same. It wasn't what I wanted. I couldn't sound like James Hetfield. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how many hours I put into it, I couldn't sound like him. And then it turned out I could sound a lot more like Dave Mustaine. But still, not exactly like Dave Mustaine, but it still was missing something. And what that missing part is the guitar player himself or herself, whoever it might be, because you're not supposed to sound like that guy. You're not supposed to sound like somebody else. Music is a gift. Music, guitar, your ability to play guitar in a way that makes sense, or even not, but expressing yourself with it is a gift. A real creative musician doesn't go, ooh, I like that band. I want to sound exactly like that band. I want my band to sound just like them. Seriously? Why are you playing? It's already been done, And now, honestly, if your inner voice speaks in that exact same language, fantastic. All right, I get it. But for me, I am the sum of all parts. And you should be too. We all are the sum of what our influences are. Now, you might get little snippets, little pieces here and there of that really my influences come through. But it's not about me going, ooh, I want to write a Dave Mustaine riff, or ooh, I want to write a part and call it a tribute to Metallica. Because in other words, you just ripped off Metallica or Slayer or Megadeth or whoever it might be. There's a lot of guys, unfortunately, out there that do that. And it's lame, and it's the half-ass way to do things. Let me break it down to you in another way. And this one's kind of funny, right? So I said, it's not what you say, but how you say it. Drums, right? Okay, easy enough. All right. How about this? I'm not going to use the F word because that one's easy. Because that you can have entire conversations dropping the F bomb, especially if you're like me, ex-military, ex-mechanic, ex-truck driver. Yeah, you can do that. Let's use dude, right? Dude. Like, how about this? How about a question, dude? Question. Disappointment, dude. Or just excitement, dude. As stupid as that is, and as goofy as that looks and sounds. We all know it. We all know that we use the same word and the same tone, not same tone, but the same note to say that word. It was all the same. But it's how we said it, is where do we put the stress? Where do we put the inflection? Where, did we lengthen it? Did we strengthen the front or strengthen the back end of that? Dude, what did we do? That is what you have to do with your guitar. That's what you have to do with your bass. That's what you have to do with your voice when you're singing. The cadence, just all the little things. And you know what it's called? It's called dynamics. It's not what you say, but how you say it. And you got to say it dynamically. Nobody wants music crammed down their throat. You don't need to grab somebody and go, listen to me, listen to me. I can only do one thing. And it sounds just like this every time. Lame. So find yourself in the music, find your place to be, and use the tools that you have. You don't have to play a million notes when you can say the same thing with 5. Why would you do that? Our egos, yes, and I'm guilty of it, our egos do guide us to show off a bit. I always throw a little bit in. I mean, my songs are mostly pretty simple, but I throw a little bit in there that for the musician who's listening will go, oh, what in the hell was that? But the average person is probably just not even going to think about it, But anyways, dynamics. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. I mean, we are the sum of all parts of what created us to be musicians and people in general. So take all of that and create with it. And don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Embrace who you are as a musician. You can't be afraid to sound like you. You got to embrace it. You got to appreciate it because that is your voice. And you don't need to sound like anybody else. The world is full of copycats. The world is full of dudes cheesing off of other guys' hard work. There's tons of those. But you have to be you. You have to be your own creative self, and you need to be able to express that. And that's where all the dynamics and the fluidity of your playing and just how everything you're trying to tell the world with your story on your guitar. So, anyways, that's my rant for this week. And again, my name is Jason McCullough, and this is all music for my sanity, because without it, I go nuts. And I think most of you do too. So anyways, cheers, guys, and I'll be seeing y'all around.